Welcome back to Asianomics. I'm your host, Alex. The Biden administration is refocusing on the Quad to demonstrate that the conflict in Ukraine has not detracted from America's priorities in Asia. The Quad is an informal coalition of democracies consisting of the US, Japan, India, and Australia, with common economic and security interests across the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Its main objective is to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific, but its unspoken objective is to counter China's growing influence, which irritates Beijing's leadership. Although the Quad's objectives have been questioned due to their ambiguity and some members' reluctance to provoke China, it is poised to become more relevant as US-China tensions persist, and Western security alliances are tested by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The economic sector might also be affected, as now, China's growing economic power is having a significant impact on global markets, particularly in the Asian region. This surge in dominance has caused concern for the US, which has seen its economic control wane in the area. With this in mind, the recent formation of the Quad has raised questions about its true agenda and its potential economic impact on both China and the Quad members. In 2007, the United States, Japan, India, and Australia formed the Quad as an informal strategic dialogue following increased cooperation among the four countries in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations following the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004. The countries shared concerns about China's growing assertiveness in the region. Following their success in coordinating relief operations after the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004, the four countries formed a core group. In 2007, then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe proposed creating a more formal version of the group, called the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. That year, the Quad held a meeting on the sidelines of the annual Asia-Pacific Forum, organized by the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In the same year, Singapore joined the Quad nations in an extended version of the Malabar naval exercises in the Bay of Bengal, which typically involved Indian and American forces. They held their first meeting in Manila, the Philippines, in May 2007, where they discussed issues such as regional security, counter-terrorism, energy, and economic cooperation. However, the Quad's early progress was hindered by concerns about the initiative being viewed as a containment strategy against China, as well as changes in leadership and shifts in foreign policy priorities. Despite a promising start, the Quad broke down the following year. After a hiatus for several years, the Quad has just gained renewed momentum during Joe Biden's presidency. In May 2021, Quad leaders met in Tokyo and introduced an initiative aimed at reducing illegal fishing in the Indo-Pacific region, reflecting growing concerns about the activities of Chinese vessels. This came after the first-ever virtual conference of Quad leaders in 2021, during which they promised to fund India to accelerate production and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines throughout Asia. The Quad was relatively inactive for several years until the US, under Donald Trump, revived it in 2017 as part of a strategy to confront China. However, Trump's unpredictable approach made some allies hesitant to follow the US's lead on China. Biden has committed to a more collaborative approach with allies while maintaining a tough stance on China. The formation of the Quad has drawn criticism and concern from China, which sees it as a potential tool for the US and its allies to contain China's growing power and influence in the Indo-Pacific region. China has accused the Quad of being a mini NATO, or Asian NATO, aimed at interfering in its internal affairs and regional security issues. As a response, China has increased its military presence and assertiveness in the region, and sought to build closer ties with other countries in the region through its Belt and Road Initiative. However, some experts argue that China's response has been counterproductive, as it has deepened the Quad members' concerns about China's behavior and prompted them to strengthen their cooperation and engagement in the region. The Quad members have emphasized that their focus is on promoting a positive vision for the region rather than targeting any specific country, including China. However, according to China's foreign ministry, the group is committed to undermining China's interests. In April, Wang Wenbin, a spokesperson for the ministry, stated that the Quad is rooted in the outdated Cold War and zero-sum mindset and is full of military confrontation, and that it goes against the current trend and is bound to fail. According to a report from the Congressional Research Service, some people have criticized the Quad for being a mere forum without a clear institutional structure and for failing to speak with a unified voice. Some are also concerned that the group might transform into an Asian version of NATO, which could trigger a response from China. Meanwhile, Indian officials have been cautious about antagonizing China and have expressed doubts about Australia's close relationship with China. Nevertheless, in a significant move in 2020, India seemed to have overcome its reservations and invited Australia to participate in the Malabar exercises again. In the economic sector, the Quad has had significant economic implications both regionally and globally. As we know, one of the primary objectives of the Quad is to endorse a transparent, inclusive, and sovereign-based free and open Indo-Pacific region. This objective aims to counter China's increasing economic power and assertiveness in the region. China's economic influence has been expanding across several sectors in the Asia region, such as manufacturing, technology, infrastructure, and trade. China has made a remarkable impact on the global manufacturing industry by producing high-quality goods at lower costs. China has also invested significantly in the development of its technology sector, leading to the emergence of companies such as Huawei and Xiaomi, which have gained a competitive edge over other global tech giants. The Belt and Road Initiative, which is focused on infrastructure development, has also boosted China's influence in the region by creating transportation, energy, and other infrastructure projects in different countries. Additionally, China has become a major trading partner for numerous countries in the region and has further integrated its economy into the global economy. The Quad has also taken measures to enhance economic ties between its members. For instance, the group held its first virtual summit in March 2021, where the leaders of the four countries agreed to create a task force to strengthen the supply chain in crucial areas such as pharmaceuticals, rare earth metals, and 5G technology. The initiative intends to minimize the dependence of Quad nations on China and other hostile or unreliable countries. If the Quad is successful in reducing its dependence on China for supplies of pharmaceuticals, rare earth metals, and 5G technology, it could potentially lead to a decrease in demand for Chinese exports in these areas. For example, China is the world's largest producer and exporter of rare earth metals, such as cerium, neodymium, and yttrium, which are critical components in a wide range of technologies, including smartphones, electric vehicles, and wind turbines. In the second half of the 20th century, Mountain Pass was the leading global supplier of rare earth metals. However, China's mining efforts increased significantly during the globalization of the 1980s and 90s, leading to its current dominance of the rare earths market. U.S. companies found it difficult to match China's low production costs, which are driven by government subsidies, low wages, and lax environmental standards. Mountain Pass closed in 2002 following a toxic waste spill and remained closed for years. Similarly, other rare earth mines across the U.S. were unable to compete with China's low prices, resulting in their closure. If the Quad is successful in reducing its reliance on Chinese supplies of rare earth metals, it could potentially lead to a decrease in demand for Chinese rare earth exports. Similarly, if the Quad is successful in promoting a resilient supply chain in the pharmaceutical industry, it could potentially lead to a decrease in demand for Chinese exports of pharmaceuticals. However, it is important to note that any impact on Chinese exports would depend on the success of the Quad's initiatives and the response of the global market. Several causes have occurred resulting in the faltering of the Quad. According to former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, a previous leader, Kevin Rudd, was responsible for the group's loss of interest due to his policy to disconnect from it. However, Rudd argued that the Quad lost favor with Japanese power brokers after Prime Minister Shinzo Abe resigned, and his party lost power in 2009. In 2008, When Rudd visited the U.S. as Prime Minister, U.S. officials did not even mention the Quad, and his Indian counterpart at the time, Manmohan Singh, vowed not to be involved in any effort to contain China. Nevertheless, the Quad regained relevance when nationalist governments took power in Japan and India in 2017. China's conflict with India on their disputed Himalayan border and trade measures against Australia for proposing a COVID-19 investigation into Wuhan also contributed to the Quad's renewed significance before the Biden administration. During the Tokyo summit in May 2022, the Quad leaders made a statement expressing their commitment to promoting an inclusive and resilient Indo-Pacific region that is free and open. This includes addressing significant issues like cybersecurity and climate change, as well as specific areas such as infrastructure cooperation, which may be seen as a response to China's Belt and Road Initiative. The initiative has been the subject of criticism for leading poor countries into debt traps. Although the Quad is careful not to provoke China, it is part of a developing approach to Asia. For instance, in 2021, the UK and US signed a defense agreement with Australia called AUKUS, which involves providing the country with nuclear submarines. This was in response to China's pressure campaign against Australia. In this month, May 2023, US President Joe Biden and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend a meeting of Pacific leaders in Papua New Guinea, according to the island nation's Prime Minister. The leaders will meet with Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape, as well as 18 Pacific Island leaders who will be present in the capital city of Port Moresby to attend the Forum for Indo-Pacific Islands Cooperation. Marape called the event a historic first and a going-forward futuristic meeting of global superpowers, as the US and its allies see India as a valuable partner to counter China and have included it in the Quad, which also consists of Japan and Australia. Washington has been cautious in pressuring India over its close ties with Russia, which is a crucial supplier of weapons and energy to the country. What will be the next move of the Quad? Will this coalition become a new NATO of Asia that will have an impact on politics? Is this move also part of a wider strategy by the US to strengthen its influence in Asia, or is there more to it than meets the eye? As the world watches on, its potential effects on the global and China economy and politics remain to be seen. If you like this video, watch our previous video about the EU's actions and hints of modern colonialism.